welcome to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley. I'm a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Happy Tuesday. It's How to Tarot Tuesday, and what that is every Tuesday I post a video. In that video we talk about one of the 78 card tarot, and what I do is the first deck is always the Rider-Waite-Smith, and then I choose two other tarot decks that I think best represent the card that we're talking about. The beginning of the video is dedicated to talking about the symbols of the card and how to read it in a spread. And then the second half of the video is where you, the viewer, get to choose from one of the three tarot decks. And I go ahead and do a quick spread to see how that card manifests in your life. Today I will be clarifying using the Gypsy Oracle cards. And but again, if you ever want to skip straight to your reading, the timestamps are in the description box below, as are the names and the authors of the decks that I use. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. Today we are talking about the Eight of Pentacles. Now the Eight of Pentacles, when you look at the card, you see somebody working diligently at a table. And at the table you see what looks like a workman. He has on a tunic and almost like a work apron that's tied in the back. You see him working on a pentacle, and you see that there are other pentacles that are hanging up or, laid to the side next to him as if he had produced all of the pentacles himself. In the background you see a city that's at a distance, and you see like a workbench where he's very diligently working, and the expression on his face is one of being in rapt attention. So the Eight of Pentacles is a very industrious card, just like all of the Pentacles suit. The first meaning that it means is working hard at something. So you see that, with all the pentacles around him, it looks like the person is a craftsman, right? It looks like he's developing a skill. The Eight of Pentacles is about perfecting a craft or being an artisan of some sort. It really is talking about having diligence at something or making a strong effort towards learning something. A lot of times it means just working hard, the way that the person is, completely engrossed in the project, and the way that he's away, he seems isolated, like he's far away from other things. It's kind of like that tunnel vision when you get when you are fully engrossed in a project. It really means applying yourself totally to something. So a lot of times, when you see this in a spread upright, it usually means that you're really, you're either, you might have been assigned a task that requires your undivided attention, but most of the time it really just means dedicating yourself to completing something, and to completing something well. With the way that the person is, kind of chiseling away, you can kind of see that, the other pentacles look like they were first attempts or second attempts. It kind of focuses on the way that you learn as you progress through a project, right? Maybe you've been assigned a project for the first time and you really learn how to, master that skill after having done it. Also, when you are good at something, like if you have a skill or a craft that you do, the more that you do it, the more the better the product becomes, right? You learn what works and what doesn't work, and sometimes you even learn new and better ways on how to do that activity. So in that sense, it really does mean artisanship. It can really mean the kind of job that you don't see every day, like, for instance, maybe someone's good at weaving handmade baskets or woodworking, or, just one of those skills that, that is created by hand and not really, made by a machine. A lot of times it means plugging away, really putting a lot of effort into something. It can also mean education or school. It can mean a class that you're taking, in something that is either new to you or something that you're passionate about. It can also be a reflection of having a lot of talent at something. Maybe this is something new that you're trying, and you're noticing that you're actually very adept at it. Either that, or if you see this next to maybe like the Ace of Wands, or possibly even the Ace of Cups, it could really mean something that you kind of a hobby or something that you dabbled in, that you really took off, and really is highlighting your skill and your talent at it. Sometimes you do see this next to those kind of hobbies that, when you start doing something and you never realize that it'll become something else. There's a really great YouTuber here who started off as a scrapbooker, and then later, with all the paper crafting, learned that she was very good at making homemade cards. And now she's one of the biggest YouTube, she's very well known. She's got, hundreds of thousands of followers that watch how she creates cards using stamps and inks and dyes, and I think of the Eight of Pentacles when I see this, because it can be something that, it could be, if you see the Eight of Pentacles next to a card like Judgment, it could be really your calling for something. And you might have started off in one job, but that job kind of branched off. You developed a skill that you may not even know that you had. And I love that with symbols and in life. That happens quite a lot, where sometimes you go down this path, and before you know it, it takes you in this new direction. And definitely, if you see this card next to like kind of a trailblazer card, like, again, something with the wands, or even something with the cups, it would mean that, okay, yes, you have a physical product, but it came, it almost came from going on a journey, right? Came from going on a journey. Now, so a lot of times it can mean college or school. With it being pentacles, it really can mean that you're earning a lot of, you could be, pentacles can be a degree or a certification in something. Because you're acquiring skills, you're acquiring certifications. So maybe you're getting maybe you're going back to school and getting, a higher certification. Sometimes if you're in one of those fields where you need to keep your accreditation up to date, the Eight of Pentacles can mean that. It can mean that, okay, 2 years is up, you need to go back and get recertified for something. So again, you're continuing, or you're reaffirming your skills at something, keeping your skills, up to date. The other thing that I kind of think of is, you do see this a lot with like work study programs, and we'll get to that in a little bit when we look at the third deck. But one thing that I see a lot of this with is, you do see it with the type of jobs that may not necessarily be college related. Believe it or not, in the 40s and 50s, college was not as big of a deal as it is now. A lot of times, the popular consensus in modern day now is that you at least have to have a college degree in order to get a good job. But not even 60, 70 years ago, you really just having a high school diploma was enough, because what you would do is you would go into like a work study program, like maybe like getting kind of on the job training, like a trades kind of school, like if you're a mechanic or a chef or a hairstylist. And I do kind of see this when I see this card, meaning more of a trades kind of profession. If you see this next, the Eight of Pentacles next to the Ten of Cups, or the Ten of Pentacles, it can mean a trade profession that you get great joy from, that also makes you a lot of money. Again, you don't have to have a college degree in order to have a good job, and that kind of way of learning is really making a comeback, I've noticed lately too. The other thing is that it can mean job security. You can see this person's very busy. He has plenty of pentacles that, need to be made. So it can mean that, whatever it is that you do, you are needed. Like it could also, and nowadays it can mean an essential worker. If you're a business owner, it can mean that your product is in high demand and you need to, it's a good time, where you're producing a lot. A lot of times it can mean a labor of love, again, something that you make for the pleasure of making it. It also kind of can mean like it usually means that it's a good use of your talents. Like you're applying yourself to something really that either serves the greater good, or again, if it's a hobby, it's something that's very pleasurable for yourself. It's interesting. I don't know if I just justify it to myself a lot, but I've read a lot of articles that, even if a hobby is a little bit more expensive, like maybe if you like to paint or if you like to sew and you have a million, patches of material, or, if you like to crochet or knit, and, I hear it all the time. Those persons who craft, you'll have this complete backlog of material, of yarn. You'll have a yarn room and you'll have a craft room. But it's amazing how having a hobby or having a craft really, even if it is on the more expensive side, it really does contribute to mental and psychological health. So the Eight of Pentacles really kind of plays into that. It's something that you get engrossed in. It's something that you relax when you do it. It lets you, also, believe it or not, hobbies, especially the more mental ones, if you either, if you write or anything that keeps your mind engaged and keeps your hands engaged, and helps you decompress after your job, it that really does. People who have hobbies do live longer because it reduces stress, but it keeps your mind sharp, and it allows you to put your heart into something, and that is another meaning of being engrossed that way. Now, the other thing is that you could be in a new field of work, or you could be learning something new. So this could be, you training for some kind of new position. The other thing is that it can be self-employment. You see how the person is there by himself. So it could be you turning a side hustle, kind of a hobby into a job for the first time. And definitely if you see that next to maybe the Ace of Pentacles. Now, the other thing is that, with this being the real world, sometimes this can mean computer skills, or something that, because the pentacles are practical, they're kind of almost like, they're like data kind of related skills. And so as we move into the second card, this is what kind of takes us into the next meaning, is that it also means that when you look at it, I went with the Witch's Tarot for the second deck. And what it is I think it's great. You see a woman here, and she's working well into the night. You can see it's kind of dusk out. It looks like the sun is setting. She's got a crow sitting on her shoulder, and you see a candle that's well worn, and you see she has 6 pentacles there, and she's really polishing the eighth one, right? And when you look at her face, she's like totally engrossed, right? And the crow, now first off, crows usually are a harbinger of change, they're kind of the predictors of fate, right? So, and with the candle being so worn, it just looks like she's been working all day and all night, and she doesn't even notice how late it is. She's polishing that pentacle, right? So when you look at that, it can mean burning the midnight oil. It could be like maybe you have a report due tomorrow, and you wrote all night, and you're just writing during the day. So it could be you really putting in the last minute effort. The other thing that it can mean is something that that makes you lose track of time. So it can be something that you're really excited about. It could be a skill. I know that all of the hobbies that I do, when I first learned them, like even with tarot, when I first started doing tarot again, I could do it, I'd lose track of time. I'd start throwing cards, and I'd look at the clock. I'm like, oh my God, it's 3 hours later, and it's kind of like that kind of activity. And so, and it doesn't necessarily have to be work related or hobby related. Again, it can be maybe you went out on a date and you really lost track of time. The other thing is that you could be really focused on some kind of goal, whether that be getting a promotion, it could be buying a house, it can be, wanting to propose marriage or get engaged. And anything that has your preoccupation, anything that you are dead set, like you are looking at it like, I'm going to get this done, right? Anything that makes you burn the midnight oil, to work on. In the same vein, it can mean savings. You can see how she's kind of polishing that coin. Maybe you're really being determined to put away enough money, or to have a budget. Sometimes it can mean the way that you care for money. Again, the way that you look at that, you're very carefully curating. You're carefully, bringing together, enough money. Sometimes it can mean that you're learning to manage money, or you're developing skills with your finances. The other thing that it can be is that when I do see this card, sometimes I do think collections, not collections in the sense of someone collecting money from you, but having a collection of things. Because again, pentacles are the physical. So maybe you have a collection of baseball cards, or maybe you collect, hats, or again, with the crafting side of it, maybe you have a surplus of yarn or a surplus of material. Maybe everybody has different collections of different things. Maybe you have, pogs, or, rare trading card games. You see, collection of computers, or anything that you feel like you see how she's polishing that coin, anything that seems like, the center gem of your collection, because she has all these other coins, but she's has one more in her hand, and she's going to add it to the thing. Now, the other thing that it can mean, and especially with this card, is it can mean perfectionism. Again, a lot of times when you learn a skill, you hone a skill, you become good at something because you've done it so many times that you start to understand the real nuances of it. So again, it could be, it could be a job skill or something that you know inward and outwards. Or it can be something that, it can be some kind of project or some kind of endeavor that you're just extremely perfectionist about, right? You can be like, look, I want to make sure that we do this the right way, right? So, that could be anything. That could be, if you're organizing an event, it can be that, okay? Maybe you're organizing a wedding or a birthday party for someone. And anytime you see the Eight of Pentacles, it means that you're really coordinating all of the different, you're making sure that all of the everything works perfectly, and that every little element of it is perfect. The flower is going to be a perfect match, the color theme, the draperies, the tables and the invitations, and all of that. It can be in that kind of vein. Now, when you get to the last card, and I went with the Anna K Tarot, and honestly, it was a little bit of a tough choice to go with my three. The Slow Tarot has a really great Eight of Pentacles, and so does the Morgan Greer, which is a little bit more traditional, but I really love that one as well. But the Eight of Pentacles with the Anna K I thought was great because in this card, you see someone watching over someone younger. And you see in the background, you have all the pentacles, right? And here you have this young person who seems to be learning the craft from the older person, right? And the Vice Versa Tarot actually has a very similar card to this as well. The front side of it is more of the person by themselves, but the back side you see someone young kind of watching what they're doing. But so the last meaning of this is the Eight of Pentacles, just like it can be an artisanship for yourself, something that you're very skilled at, but the Eight of Pentacles can also mean learning from a mentor. It can also mean the type of crafts that are handed down, like those really unique kind of skills that can only be learned by watching someone else who's done it. And it's interesting, we live in such a mechanical age that those things are so rare. Like I was watching a great documentary here on YouTube that talked about how Doc Martens, the kind of real combat boot looking shoes, they were real popular in the 90s. They used to, half of the reason that they were so expensive is because they were handmade, they were hand assembled, right? They were not, machine created. They are machine created now, but that was part of their value, right? That was part of their prestige, is that they were assembled by hand. Another really great video that I watched is I was curious about the origin of natural cork. Cork is normally synthetic now, and I was actually talking about this a little bit in my Eco Girl in a Modern World. I was talking about environmental causes, but cork is actually comes from a cork tree, and it's interesting. Cork trees are really only harvested, I believe, once every 8 to 12 years. And the way that you harvest the cork is very delicate because it's like shucking the tree of its bark. And you have to be careful with it because cork trees can live up to 200 years, but you have to harvest the right way, otherwise you can harm the tree. And it's amazing how when you watch those videos, and if you ever see the Eight of Pentacles and want more inspiration to the meaning, feel free to Google a video about something like that. But the harvesting of cork trees it's a tradition that's passed down from tree husker to tree husker, and it's a very in-person skill. And that's what I think is so beautiful about this, is that this last card, with it being someone younger learning from someone older, there's a craftsmanship, right? And that could be anything. That could be glass blowing. It can be, harvesting cork. But it's really those skills that you learned from someone else, right? And goodness knows, you can learn how to knit from YouTube. You can learn how to knit from anyone. But the best way to learn is usually when you learn in person. If you learn it from your grandmother, you learn it from your grandfather, the very table that I do my readings on, and I'll be posting updates about this, is that the table that I do my readings on is you get to see it in the flip through for the Starseeker Tarot that I did here on the channel. But my table was created by my great grandfather when he was 17 years old, and that was in the early 1900s. So this table is over 100 years old, and I'm going to be having it refinished. But I think of the Eight of Pentacles when I think of him, because he was a blacksmith, but he created furniture as well. And when you teach that skill, person to person, the other thing is, when I see that, I think of the Eight of Pentacles because it keeps those traditions alive. And those traditions need to be kept alive, at least in my humble opinion, because, machines are great, but, in times like ours, when the economy is impacted, the ability to do something with your own two hands, and actually I do think that I believe there might be an a resurgence of this, a revival, because, what if you know how to grow your own food, right? What if you're a great gardener? People having the ability to sell your wares, like through Etsy or something like that, it's a secondary way away from the mainstream of how to earn money. And that is definitely an Eight of Pentacles concept. So sorry to go off on a tangent there, but you can see how strongly it means several different things. But in that sense, it does mean, passing on skills and knowledge to others. So, and then the very last meaning usually means that if you're doing a great job, if you're doing a good job, and you're doing it with your own hands, you're doing any job that is meant, you've heard the expression, any job worth doing well is worth doing right. And that's kind of like a Eight of Pentacles concept. It's like, okay, let me really look at this, let me take it apart and make sure that it's crafted the way that it's supposed to be crafted. Now, in that sense too, it can be somebody, when it comes to people, the Eight of Pentacles can be an apprentice. It can be someone, it can be a teacher or an artisan who's teaching to someone else. It can be a mechanic. It can be someone who fixes things or creates things with their hands. You can be someone who creates pottery. Oh, that's definitely a big Eight of Pentacles things. It can be a good worker or a hard worker. Maybe you have, if you see this next to the Three of Pentacles, if you're asking about someone, it can be someone that you know is just really industrious, someone who's always, someone who's a really, work hard kind of work ethic. The other thing is that it can be someone who is good with computers. It can be someone who's real practical. It can be someone who's good with the inner workings of things. It can be a teacher, a student, a mentor. It can be someone that you look up to, or someone who's more like a tutor. Or it could really just be someone that has a skill that you want to learn. Now, if we go ahead and look at the Eight of Pentacles in reverse, the first meaning that you have for it is usually cutting corners. And this type of energy we talked a little bit about in the Ace of Pentacles in reverse, but when you think about it, it's really not doing a quality job at something. It's like not caring about the details, right? Sometimes it can mean cheap materials, or something that you thought was going to be quality. Sometimes if you see this next to maybe the Seven of Swords, maybe you paid a lot of money for something that you thought was original or handmade, and it turns out to be a fake, or turns out to just be something that was really poorly made. A lot of times it can mean impatience. It can mean that there's a job that requires a lot of diligence and a lot of attention to detail, but you do not want to take the time. The other thing is sometimes it can be a misuse of skills. If you see this next to a card that, kind of means someone doing something kind of shady, sometimes it can be, someone not doing the right thing by their job. Sometimes it can mean someone abusing their privileges, like maybe they're in a position to have access to certain resources, and then, this gets abused. The other thing that I kind of think of when I see this is that a lot of times it can be like poor mentorship, like someone might be teaching you something that is not a good skill to have. So it could be, the passing on of poor behaviors or poor mannerisms. A lot of times it does just usually mean lack of commitment. Sometimes it can mean, and especially with this, it can mean self-criticism. Sometimes you just want things to be so impossibly perfect that even though you did a really, really great job, it's just not good enough, or you just constantly berate yourself in your own head. Sometimes it can be a sign that you're feeling not good enough. The other thing is that with it in reverse, if you see this next to more of a love card, it can mean someone who's throwing themselves into work in order to not think about someone, or to not have to deal with some kind of, like if you see this next to the Two of Swords and maybe the Five of Cups, the Eight in reverse would be more of someone who really just is avoiding their feelings. So they might, they might be throwing themselves into work in a very unhealthy way. If you see this next to the Ten of Pentacles, or the Ten of Wands, or the Nine of Wands, 9 or 10 of Wands, the Eight of Pentacles in reverse can mean overwork. Maybe you have a lot to do, and the other way that I read that is that you have a lot to do at work and you do it well, but it's just becoming too much. Like it's just, you have more orders than you can possibly produce. And in order to give it that quality, in order to produce in the right way, it's almost like that the assembly line's going to back up on you, like you just can't keep up. Sometimes it can be a sense of false security. Sometimes you think that you might, that what you're doing is going to be, secure forever, but, surrounding cards might be cautioning you, okay, don't put all of your eggs into one basket. So sometimes that is, again, this is kind of a narrow focus card. All you're thinking about is that pentacle in front of you. So it might be telling you to kind of look around. Maybe even it might be warning you that, okay, this job is thriving right now, but, sometimes there are ebbs, there's highs and lows to economy or the type of production. You may want to have something else on the side and ready to go as a backup. Sometimes it can be an unwillingness to learn. Maybe someone is trying to teach you something and you're just like, no, not having it. Sometimes if you see this in the reverse next to like a page or a knight card, it could mean a child or a teenager or a young adult that you're trying to teach the skills of life. Maybe you have someone who's living at home and you want to teach them how to balance their checkbook, how to pay for things, how to be responsible, but they're just not listening, or they're running off and really not, they don't want to put the time into learning the practical things. Sometimes it can be a course that's boring to you. Maybe you signed up for, something, and definitely, in college, you think that you're signing up for the exciting course, and then you get into it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like watching paint dry. I do see the Eight of Pentacles a lot in reverse nowadays because I do, just in personal opinion, I think, nowadays with everything being so digital, everyone has a very short attention span, and it's not limited to any one generation. I think it's just the way our technology has conditioned us to respond. The patience to read a book or the patience to watch like an hour-long documentary is really not there. It's actually quite proven that you really only have about a minute and a half to 3 minutes of someone's attention before they start getting distracted, and that's on the long end. You see technology nowadays really has us where if you can't get your point across in 7 to 15 seconds, then you're going to lose your audience. So, to actually learn the skills to do something very to this level is wavering, and you would see that, as kind of the whole, theme. If that's kind of an environment kind of perception, that would be the 8 in the reverse. Sometimes it can mean, dishonesty or someone trying to con you. Again, someone trying to sell you something or get you to invest in something that's just really not what it appears to be on the surface. A lot of times it can mean, it sometimes can mean the loss of a job, more in the sense that you sometimes you were if you were really specialized in a field and you lost your job and you're having trouble getting a new job in that same profession because you're so skilled. And sometimes you do see that if you have several college degrees, if you're a PhD, and then all of a sudden, there's not as much demand for that profession. You might see that with the 8 in reverse. Sometimes it can be it can be computer problems. If this is showing up in the reverse near a Mercury retrograde, it can just be that everything's becoming so complicated. I noticed during Mercury retrogrades, just getting the most simple of things done seems like it's pulling teeth. It just, everything gets delayed and out of whack. Sometimes it can be feeling disenfranchised. Like maybe, again, maybe you owned a store and, with a larger corporation, and all of a sudden that corporation is not letting you have, so a lot of times it can be feeling like you got separated from some kind of, specialization. The same thing can mean, and just to put it out there, it can mean things like, if you see this next to maybe justice in reverse, it can mean being disbarred if you're a lawyer, or, maybe for some reason you're kind of, if you see this next to the 5 of Pentacles, it can mean for some reason that you've been, kind of alienated from some kind of group. And that can be, if you see this next to like the Hierophant in the 5 of Pentacles, it can be, maybe it's a group of friends or a social group or a sports team. Um, there's a great story that talks about how Michael Jordan got sent home one time told that he was not good enough to play basketball, right? It can be one of those moments in time. And again, this is a minor arcana, so it doesn't mean it's going to be forever. You know, don't take it to heart, but it can mean that in the reverse. The only other meanings is that, you know, sometimes it can be a little bit of that ignorance, because again, you know, when it's in the upright, you're very focused and you know every detail of it. When it's in the reverse, it can really mean that you're ignoring the details to the point where, you know, what you don't see can hurt you, right? Sometimes it can be glossing over little details that can really spring up and completely overturn your entire project because you didn't give it the attention to notice that one thing. So a lot of times if you see the 8 in reverse and you're working on some kind of project that is in steps, it's just cautioning you or warning you that if, you know, one little misstep can really cause a lot of problems, and you really do need to be very diligent or really comb. It can also be asking you, okay, comb through this again, like Mercury retrograde, comb through it again and make sure everything's on track, because it might be alerting you that something might be wrong. And then the last meaning can mean that it usually just means that person who just doesn't care. So when it comes to people or situations, you know, it can be the person who just wants to take the easy way out. It can be the person who calls out sick on a very busy day and just kind of dumps everything for everyone else to do. You know, it can be you taking on more than biting off more than, it can be the person who bites off more than they can chew. Sometimes if you see this next to a court card for a Wands character in the reverse, sometimes it can be a little bit boisterous. It can mean that someone's, you know, pretending like they can do it all, like the person who's like, oh yeah, I can run a marathon, oh yeah, I can make this, oh yeah, I can do that, and it's more ego than it is actual skill. Sometimes it can be that kind of persona, that the person who just wants to say they can do it, but you know that you probably don't want to rely on them too much. And the other thing is that sometimes it can be you worrying so much about a work problem, and if you see the 8 in reverse next to maybe the 9 of Swords, you might be, you know, going over something that happened at work, or maybe you've made a mistake and all of a sudden you're just ruminating about it. It can mean that. The other thing is that one of the last meanings is that when it comes to people, this can be someone who is very entitled. Again, if you see it next to like a Wands card that's in reverse as well, it can be someone who's very puffed up or sense that, you know, well, I know how to do this so well, you need to treat me this way. You know, the other thing is that it can be someone being pompous in the sense that they consider themselves to be the height of sophistication, right? It can be a person who is like, well, you know, this needs to be, you know, 1,000 thread cotton, Egyptian cotton, and this type of satin, and if it's not this, then it's not the right type. And so sometimes it can be someone who's very picky about the details in an extreme. But but you know, whether or not it's, you know, in the upright or the reverse, the 8 of Pentacles definitely means a lot. I love the depiction of you know, craftsmanship and dedication, and you know, hard work, and like all the Pentacles, it really does mean that, you know, what you put your energy into, what you work diligently at, will accumulate, and it will give you rewards, you know, for how, you know, how hard you've worked. So, all right guys, so that concludes the how-to part of the video. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause the video and let you choose your deck. The first deck is the Rider-Waite-Smith by A.G. Mueller, and you have a Sunstone. The second deck is the Witch's Tarot by Ellen Dugan, I think, and with it we have the Citrine. The third deck is the Anna K Tarot, and with it we have a Smoky Quartz. We will be clarifying the read with the Gypsy Oracle cards, and I have a beautiful little seashell on top. If you like the artwork or the stone, maybe even the timestamp, whatever your instinct is telling you to go with. If you need more time, please pause the video, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. So I'm going to go ahead and move up these other decks. We're going to jump right in. The How to Tarots do run a little bit longer, but again, you know, it is like getting another full read. So let's go ahead and see deck number 1, Rider-Waite-Smith. How does the Eight of Pentacles manifest in your life? How does the Eight of Pentacles manifest in your life? Ooh, thank you. And picture. Get one clarifier, thank you. Okay, wow, guys. The Seven of Wands and Strength wanted to pop out too, so I'm definitely getting a story here. Let's go ahead and please clarify the Rider-Waite-Smith. How does the Eight of Pentacles? How is the Eight of Pentacles currently manifesting in your life? Please clarify. I went ahead and got 2 just to help clarify. All right, guys. So, how does Rider-Waite-Smith? How does the Eight of Pentacles manifest in your life, either currently or what's the energy for you right now? And wow, guys, I am definitely getting a very clear story here, and it's more of a romantic one, which is that happens with the Rider-Waite, but we've got the Knight of Cups and the Two of Cups. And I'm not laughing. We've actually got three Cups cards here, and you got a Major, you got an Emperor in the center. So in the past, we have a Knight of Cups here. So Knight of Cups, and this can be your energy, or it can be the energy of another person. I'm really getting the feeling like, basically, in the past, you had some kind of love relationship, and it was a very passionate one. I think you were really swept up in this, right? Someone really approached you with their cup of love, and the Knight of Cups is very hard to resist. He's very charismatic, and he's a gorgeous guy, right? He comes trotting up literally on his white horse, trying to smooze you. So, he's a good character, but I really do think that if this is, I get the sense that this might have been, involving you, but of course it's involving you. I'm sorry, that makes no sense. But basically, you got swept up in a real romantic kind of situation. It could have, I get the feeling you were approached, someone approached you, and really, you got connected really quickly. You really kind of bonded with someone who came across as very romantic, right? Someone came up and it was a strong start. I think you went for it, right? And this is the past energy. I think you went for it. But then what you see is that underneath the Knight, you see the Eight of Cups. And the Eight of Cups is walking away from cups that you have stacked up, right? You've invested all of this energy, and when you look at it, this is an 8 and this is an 8, right? Your Eight of Pentacles, and you see that the Eight of Cups is kind of lower here. It fell kind of like this. So I take it as kind of like a garland. I take it as like it's a subconscious. It's like an unseen bridge. It's a tie. This energy ties into this one. So past is tying into present. And what it is that I think that you really did. You had a very strong start, some kind of strong start with someone that was very romantic. And something happened that made you want to walk away. It could be, now the one thing about, the Knight of Cups, and I've always noticed he has wings on his helmet and on his feet, he is a little bit, there are two kind of cards that are notorious for being a little bit more Lothario than most, and that is the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Cups. And it doesn't make them bad characters, and it doesn't mean that whomever you got entangled with is a bad person, but it does mean that they kind of wear their heart in their sleeve. The one thing about the Knight is that he goes on missions being plural, where more than one. So it's quite possible that you might have, been approached, or, been given an offer of love from someone, and that person either didn't stick around, or for whatever reason you had to walk away, right? Because the Knight has one cup there, right? And at this point, you're walking away from 8 of them, right? And you're creating 8 pentacles there, right? These are 2 eights. Now, the present energy is the Emperor. And the Emperor is the boss man, right? He's the person who's in complete control, right? He's about 5 steps up from the Knight, right? The Emperor is more than just a king. He is an emperor, right? He's a king of kings. So basically, if you are more of a woman in this energy, I think that you really fell for someone, and something about that person's behavior. I don't think this person was being completely exclusive with you. Either that, or they were being kind of romantic, in a kind of, polygamous kind of way, where they were really going around to either other people, or something about the behavior just wasn't on the level, and you had to walk away from it. And when you walked away from it, you really toughened up, right? It made you really hard, and not in a bad way, but you just kind of said, okay, you decided that you decided that instead of going through more of this, right? Because this is a little bit, it's a poignant energy. It's a bittersweet energy. It's like, okay, you started off in this young, open heart kind of feeling, and you had to walk away from it. You had to be practical and walk away from it. And instead you said, okay, what I honestly get? I get that feeling of, let me not even bother with love for a while, because all it does is give me this, right? All love gives me is this. And instead of investing with my heart, let me invest with my money, right? I'm almost hearing, like, if I can't build an empire of love, let me build an empire of, something tangible, is what I'm hearing, right? And so I do think, I'm not seeing any, like, 3 of Swords energy here, but I do get the feeling that as if you felt like you had to, you got tired of feeling like, I think you might have worn your heart on your sleeve a little too much, and what it did is that those bumps and bruises, the going through. The other thing is that maybe you had been dating a while, and maybe each one of those 8 cups were, I'm not saying that you had 8 relationships, but, sometimes those can be dates, it can be talking to people, it can be just, each one of those cups is an Ace of Cups, right? It was a start of something, and then if it didn't work out, after some point, you might become a little bit, I won't say jaded, but I'll just say that you kind of had enough of it. And I think everybody's been there at some point where you're just like, okay, I'm going to take a break from dating. I'm not even going to bother with it. So instead of being open-hearted, let me be the emperor for a little while, right? And so if you're a masculine watching this, I really think that you probably are throwing yourself into work to not think about love. I'm seeing that for both masculine and feminine. You're just like, okay, let me do what I'm good at. That's the other thing that I'm thinking, is that, if I'm not good, that's, what I'm hearing, that if I'm not good at relationships, let me do what I'm good at, which is work, and you're actually becoming the best of the best, because the other thing is that the Eight of Pentacles is a skilled person, and underneath it you have the freaking Emperor. So what that tells me is that, okay, you threw yourself into work and you went pretty darn far. You might even gotten some promotions out of this. You might be, I really get the sense that you lead others. You're probably like a team leader, or I don't know, like you really do. You have, the thing is that you have people who report to you, because the emperor is the king of kings, right? But the other thing about this that I get, though, is that, again, being so engrossed in your work, you see this person, he's separated, he's isolated away from civilization, he's doing his thing, right? He's not paying attention to anything else. I think what that's doing is that the other thing with the emperor is that you see that he's a little bit of an isolated character, right? You see he's an Aries, he's Aries energy. And in the background you see kind of barren mountains, and you see a lot of reds, right? It's almost like a desert climate. What it is that the emperor is, he is the divine masculine in this. He's the father figure. But the thing is that he is very alone. And the other thing with the emperor is that he has all the power, but a lot of times he does enjoy it alone, because or he's left alone because the expression, it's lonely at the top. And you know how just like a ram is similar to a mountain goat, it can also be a Capricornian kind of energy. But I think what happened was definitely, you either had some failings with love and you wanted to leave that kind of lifestyle. Maybe you really you might have been dating hard for a while, and then you decided, okay, I'm done with this for right now. And I do get a sense that you had really kind of put a lot of energy into that sphere, and it was, you needed to leave that for a while. Now, again, with the emperor being king of kings, I do think that he's kind of like the father to others. Like, he takes care of others, but he's not a softie by any stretch. The other thing that I'm getting is that if you did pour yourself into work, you're either your job or your hobby is either real isolated, where you don't talk to people very much. This could also be a working from home kind of situation. Where you really don't have a whole lot of physical contact with people, or it can be like, if this is more of a tech type of job, maybe it just doesn't require that you have a lot of contact with people. You can still be a boss of others, but maybe you communicate through emails, and maybe your job is to do code, or just where you don't talk so much in person, but you do still have a lot of people who report to you. But the only other thing is that, I'm getting a sense presently you're very productive right now. You're getting a lot done, but it is almost making you a little bit hard. You see how the mountains are in the background? It's like a desert climate. I think you're knocking it out. You're owning it. You're the emperor. But it is making you feel a little lonely at the top. I mean, you're sitting on that solid chair and you're looking out over your kingdom, and you know what you're doing, right? You've honed your skill. You're very specialized in whatever it is you're doing. But I do think that, with this combination, you went from bringing your cup to someone to just sitting on your chair and letting everybody report to you. I am getting a little bit of a lonely vibe from that, guys. I think it preoccupies your mind. But I think at the end of the day, I think you do reflect on it. I've seen that too, even in my own hobbies. It's very, it keeps your mind engrossed, but the moment you stop doing it, you're like, okay, have I gone for a walk today? Have I talked to any other human beings today? You start to think, oh gosh, I'm like the statue, right? It's great to have skills and to be good at things, but, interpersonal communications is important. And again, this also could be playing into the what's going on with world events. Maybe, with what's going on, maybe you are an essential worker, and this is really giving you a chance to work hard and develop and become better, and it might even be, putting you in a position of great power. But it is, I do get a sense it's pretty lonely, right? Now the future is pretty interesting now too, guys, because you got the Two of Cups, and underneath it you got the Five of Wands. And what that immediately tells me, guys, is that I sense that, I really get a sense that in the future, the Two of Cups is a beautiful card. It's about, the meeting of two people. It's about, really connecting. But the problem with the connecting part is not the cups, but underneath it, there's the Five of Wands is definitely about competition. It's about competition. It's also, it talks about, as you're connecting with someone, that there might be, just kind of petty irritations with it. You do connect to this person, but it's not going to be easy to connect to this person. There's going to be a little bit of like kind of minor little annoying things. So I can kind of read this one of two ways. It could be that you were in a relationship with somebody, something wasn't right or something wasn't going right, and I really do sense that it has to do with this knight's behavior. And so you walked away and you really got good at work, but it isolated you. It gave you a lot of prestige and a lot of clout. But you didn't want to be alone forever, right? It's almost like you gained your power. You went away, because again, these are both eights. You went away and did your thing. But the future is that this person might be coming back a little bit, because you do see the one person reaching out and touching the cup of the other person. So this person, if someone did leave, they might be coming back to you, but the problem is the fact that they left and, did what they did is not going to go over well. Those affections could be there, but you got some splaining to do, and you can't really have this bonding moment when you've had this kind of conflict in the past. Now the other way that I kind of read it is it's quite possible that maybe you started a relationship, and this can be male or female. Maybe you started a relationship and you came on real strong, and then again, with stuff going on in the world, it could be because of world events, it might be because of the pandemic, that all of a sudden you had to walk away from that. You said, oh, okay, let's go out. Well, never mind. I'll call you. And, pan to 4 months later, where, you left and you did what you needed to do, and you did what you needed to do really, really well. And it really took you places. It gave you a lot of, might have gotten you, it might have put, moved you up the rungs of the corporate ladder. And now when you're going back to kind of say, hey, how you doing? That person that you might have been talking to might either have other options where now you have to compete for this person's attention, or same scenario, you go back and this person's going to be like, what happened? Why'd you leave? That wasn't cool, and it might prevent you from, connecting again. But whomever this is, you have the Two of Cups is a very strong emotional tie. It's a strong emotional connection. Now, the only other thing that I can think of is that if you did leave because you felt like you were not faring well in the relationship zone, I think what it is that when you go back, it's going to be more of the same stuff. Like you're still, you developed your skills at work, right? You walked away from love stuff because you felt like you weren't good at it. Then you perfected work stuff. Now you're going back to love stuff. And the thing that I'm seeing is that, whatever annoyed you about dating before is going to annoy you again. But I think that you're going to approach it with a more mature. The Emperors are definitely a mature personality. The only thing is with the Emperor is it's really it's his way or the highway, right? The Emperor likes things his way. He's a little bit controlling about it. So the only thing that I can think of is that, when you've had time alone, that kind of entrenches you in that persona. Like if you say, okay, I'm going to take a break from dating, and then you've had 5 months of you being the, the king of the emperor at work, you're going to jump back into dating, and you think, if that other person does one little thing to annoy you, it's going to feel like it's a big thing because you're the emperor, right? So I don't think that, you taking a hiatus and coming back, it's going to be it might even be more annoying than it was before. You're probably not going to feel like you're good at it. And especially when you were so good at being the emperor, like when I'm at work, everything's great. When I'm dating, it's annoying, But I also get the sense that if you put the effort in, like if you try to be as good at relationships, or at least give it a flexibility. The other thing is that it is telling me that you do want to be flexible. The reason that you're so good at work is because you can call the shots at work, If you want to be good at relationships the same way, sometimes you have to handle it. You can't treat your spouse the way that you treat work, right? But I do see that you have in the future, you have a wonderful potential to really have love. But I do think that it's gonna have a little bit of conflict with it, either from competition or just petty annoyances, like feeling annoyed with the process of cooperating with another person. But I do see that you love this person, and whomever it is, whether it's the person that you were talking to before or someone new, it might be a little annoying, but I think you'll learn a lot from it. Now, I did go ahead and go with 2 cards from the Gypsy Oracle. The first one you got was Thief, and the second one you got was Consolation. Now, Thief does kind of remind me of the Seven of Swords a little bit. You see someone sneaking in, The other thing is, another one of these cards actually show this. This is a vault. So this person's sneaking in. And what it is the Gypsy cards are like Kipper cards. Whatever falls next to the other card is the clarifier. So the Thief going away from Consolation. What I'm kind of getting is, I'm kind of getting the sense that whatever you started in love, I'm really getting a sense like you put some kind of effort into love, and you didn't get what you felt was your just rewards from it. Again, with the 5 being here and the 8 of Cups being next to the Knight, it's almost as if, I do. I get the sense like you feel a little gypped. You feel like you feel as if, you didn't get what you were meant to get, like it was taken from you, right? But the other thing that I'm kind of getting from this is that maybe you legitimately had to walk away from some kind of love relationship because of work. And it made you feel like the Seven of Swords made you feel like you had to sneak away, again, you had to leave, you had to go, and you felt like it kind of robbed you, like, okay, I had to do what I had to do for work, and it took away my love life. So now going into the future, I feel like you want some consolation, right? Again, you don't want to have to, you've been working hard at work, you don't want to have to work hard at love again. It's almost like you want consolation, you want something, you want it to be given to you contingent on how hard you've been working. The other vibe that I get from that too, and I know I'm getting such an emperor vibe from you, is that, and I know this is your read, but the other thing that I'm getting is that, well, I had to go off to work. Can't you just love me? Sorry, guys. I know it's not funny, but it's kind of like saying, look, because I see that. I've seen that, and it's really kind of sweet. When men work hard and they don't want to have to come home and jump through all the hoops, okay, baby, can't we just admit, I did what I had to do, and you see this angel bringing him the bag of money, right? And like, can can't you just, I'm the emperor, I don't, the emperor does not beg or grovel for anything, he kind of expects, it, right? And I'm getting a tie between those two cards. It's almost like, I'm not gonna fight for this. I've worked hard enough, you know, but I do think the one thing I will say is that the Emperor is also a little bit stubborn. He can. We talked a little bit about how the 8 can be feeling entitled, and definitely the Emperor is entitled. But the one thing is that I will say that if you did have to walk away and not give any explanation why, you might want to put a little bit more effort into it. But your future does have the 2 of Cups, so it might come at a little bit of a cost of irritation or competition. But I think if you behave in an Emperor way and you are working hard, you did take the time to do something right, like you took the time to do your job right. And I think it will give you a consolation. I think you will get a break if you have been working hard. I think the universe will bring you love if that's the next step for you. But wow, guys, okay, so that's how the 8 of Pentacles manifests in your life. Wow, that was a cool one. That was different. That was some strong energy. All right, so deck number 2, the Citrine and the Witch's Tarot. And I really do love this deck. I need to start pulling it out more often, maybe for the weekly energy. Let's go ahead and see, how does the 8 of Pentacles manifest in your life right now? Okay. Okay, I'm going to leave it here because it was kind of... current energy and future. Oh, fell on the floor. Oh, wow. Cool. Okay, please clarify the King of Swords. Okay. 8 of Wands. Oh my God. We're getting a lot of 8s. Let's go ahead and get your Gypsy card. All right, so let's go ahead and get into your reading. So, pile number 2. How does the 8 of Pentacles manifest in your life? So the past energy, and again, the 9 really wanted to land as the root of this situation. Wow, guys, in the past you got the Queen of Cups, and underneath it you got Temperance and the 9 of Wands. And the way, sorry, creaky chair. The way I always read it is that the root of this energy is this, the stem is this, and the outcome is this. So in the past, you're a very emotionally mature person. You're a very nurturing person. You can be a man or a woman in this energy, but basically you have a big heart. You have a big heart and you care about people, right? And I think in the past, what it is that it isn't, I really get the feeling like you're not the type of person that wants to make a lot of money. And it's not that money isn't good. Money is wonderful. Of course, having enough is great. But I almost get the sense that you're the kind of person that you would go into a job or a career path because it's something that you love to do. Also later when we get into your Gypsy card, I think it's because you care about people. Like, I really get a sense that you would make a great like social worker, or somebody who takes care of others, someone who understands the emotional needs of others. You could be a psychologist or a school counselor. You could also be a teacher, or this might just be, in a motherhood sense. It could be the way that you care for your family or the way that you care for others. But I do get the sense that in the past, you have the 9 of Wands and Temperance. So I definitely get the sense that I think that you've been through a lot in your life, and I think that the half the reason that you have such a great empathy and ability to care for others is because you've been through a lot. You know, the Nine of Wands is that fighter card. You know, it's that person. It really does. It's normally, and this deck is beautiful too because it depicts the person as a woman as well. But you see the sunset, and you know, here she looks kind of fierce, but most of the time, the Nine of Wands is really about not giving up. It's really about like fighting, even though you're pretty beat up, right? It's you know, fighting the good fight, right? And then with Temperance being the water bearer, and you see this angel, you know, balancing the two elements, the two cups of water. And here it has a rainbow in the background. Um, and that's more water, you know, rain energy, it also, rainbows talk about purification, right? I really do think that you've fought a lot of battles in your life. You've worked really, really hard. You've had times where you were nearly defeated, or there's times that you just really felt really beaten down. I think you've probably had periods in your life where you've you know where you've had tough times, right? Maybe you were laid off from a job, or that you went through some emotional pain, or you suffered a great loss. You went through a breakup, or you had to deal with a lot of stressful things in life. But what this tells me is that for all of the struggles that you've had, all of the really, you know, university of real life, PhD of real world kind of experiences, you balanced it so well. Like, you didn't allow any of those hardships to make you bitter. Instead, what you did is you said, okay, as you were going through those experiences, it's almost like as you were going through each hardship, you learned how to conquer the hardship. Not even conquer it, but you learned how to adapt, how to navigate it, how to heal yourself, how to take care of yourself, how to take care of others. You basically, anytime I see the Nine of Wands, I always see the person who was not given the manual of life, right? Like, you might have been blindsided by things that happened in your life, and a lot of times when that happens, you can say, woe is me, and why did that happen to me, and I'm never letting that happen again. Or you can say, okay, that happened. How do I deal with it? How do I get past it? How do I make sure that I'm okay, that others are okay? And that is what develops, because this is a queen, right? This is the Queen of Cups. This is someone who look at the way she looks at that cup. Look at how poised she is. She's got, that ocean is not, you know, washing her away. It's washing up to her feet, right? So I think what it is that this experience, your Eight of Pentacles, the base of it, your history, your past, is that you are a very strong person. You've experienced a lot. You've never let any of those hard experiences make you bitter. You survived them. You were a fighter in the spiritual sense, and you learned how to balance negative emotions. You said, okay, I really get the sense that you're the type of person that says, okay, hardships and hard times are an opportunity to learn something from this, right? And that's exactly what temperance is. It's recalibration. It's taking the bad experience and keeping the good parts, learning from it. The other thing that I kind of think of when I see this is that, how, well, it is really quite true that if you look back on life, if life is completely a cakewalk, right? If it's completely easy all the time, do we ever remember, if things are just easy and not hard, do we remember the easy times as often? I feel like some of the most beautiful moments that I've ever had have been right in the middle of some of the crappiest times of my life, right? And it isn't, it's just appreciating it. It helps you appreciate when things are good, right? If things aren't tough, you don't develop. It's like developing a photograph, right? You need agitation photograph to develop. But again, I feel like it gave you an emotional maturity that's quite beautiful, and that's your past, right? Now, your present, is the Eight of Pentacles, and underneath it, you got the King of Swords, and you got the Eight of Wands. And wow, guys, so, we've got Pentacles, Swords, and Wands here. And again, the Eight of Wands is, right on line with the Nine of Wands. So what this is telling me is I really think, I think this is telling me, and not to get all woo-woo with you, whenever I say the universe, it can be your higher power, it can be God, whatever you believe in. I really believe that the universe is kind of saying all of this hard work that you did gave you skills. Right? All of this stuff that happened to you, and your ability to integrate it and to learn from it and to balance it and to develop the maturity of your emotions, that is your skill. And you've perfected your skill, right? And that skill can be used to take care of you in the physical world, right? Like you can use those skills like a job, right? And here, the present energy is, it's almost telling you now is your time to use those skills to really move ahead. It's almost like saying, okay, maybe, you went through a bad divorce, and then, going through that emotional turmoil, you learned about yourself, you learned meditative practices, you started getting into counseling, you went to school, got certified. You've turned that pain and those experiences into something that can support you financially. You've honed that craft. The other thing that we talked about in the intro too is that sometimes when you start in one direction, it will branch off and lead you someplace else. I talked about how there's a really great card maker here on YouTube. She was a scrapbooker, right? She was a paper craft person. She just did it for fun. And then all of a sudden she started getting into, working with paper so much, she started making cards. And all of a sudden that turned into a full-blown career. And she does it. She has hundreds of thousands of followers, and she does it full time, and it's her job, right? But this is what that's telling me, is that these experiences, because a lot of times you can just look back at it and say, well, that was just me having a hard life, This is me having a hard life. But your hard life and the way that you balanced it, the way that you developed from it, has given you perspective that can help others. And the King of Swords is a very, it's almost telling me that, the King of Swords is it is like getting the word out. It's like, swords are communications, right? And the Eight of Wands is like all systems go. The Eight of Wands is like all of, everything is in tandem right now, and it's all, full speed ahead. So what that tells me is that it's really telling me that you could have a career. You could have a career in helping people, and I'm really seeing it on a mass scale. And I know that sounds crazy, but on a mass scale, the King of Swords. The King of Swords is like a king of communications. It really is about, you see how he's on a throne and he's got a falcon there on his hand, right? I really do think that you could use, maybe you could be an advisor or someone who is a counselor, on social media. Maybe it's just telling me that right now, because this is an 8 and this is an 8, it's just saying the time is really right. The time is really right now for you to take all of these skills that you've honed and turn it into something career. And it's almost like, again, the 8 wands are all aligned. They're like arrows being shot into the air. I can even parallel it to myself. The last few years, the reason I got into reading cards is because I definitely had several losses. I had three family members that I was in my immediate family pass away within a year and a half. Two of them passed away within 5 days of one another. And what happened was I had not read cards since I was 17, and I started reading cards again. And I never imagined that I would be, I went to school for English and I studied writing, and it's amazing how when you look at pictures, just like dreams, just like when you're reading a book and they throw out an analogy or a simile, or you see a theme, right? There's so many works of literature that have themes that talk about, that they refer to the same imagery. And it's almost like saying, okay, yeah, you didn't know that you were going to go back to card reading, and look at you, you had emotional pain, you balanced it, and you could take this somewhere, right? What it's really telling me is that your Eight of Pentacles is telling me that these skills that you have, you almost don't think that they're skills, but you have 8 of them. You have. I would just say, please look at your life right now and try to, from the hardships that you experienced in the past, find 8 skills that you have learned from this. And the funny thing is, I'm really getting a sense that you don't even know that they're there, but you very painstakingly created these skills from your experiences. And again, I feel like it's stuff that you learned. Maybe you practiced meditation because you were feeling sad. Maybe you read up about what healthy foods to eat while mourning. Different things like that. You got put onto some kind of specialist path because of things that you had gone through. Like, another good example is that a good friend of mine, she had experienced a weird kind of health ailment, and after that she got really into reading about organic foods, right? And about the benefits of certain types of diets. And with her wealth of knowledge, just because she went through something really, really difficult, and she kept herself balanced, and she learned from it, and she, instead of saying, woe is me, I'm going to be sick for the rest of my life, she made changes. And as she learned, she has gained a wealth of knowledge that she could share with others, right? That's what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing something similar to that. What you thought was, you didn't know it was a career path at the time. You just thought it was life being hard, right? And you see these stories all the time too, where somebody, a lot of times inventors come up with things not because it just popped into their head one day. It's because it was a legitimate need for someone, either themselves or a family member. It was something that they were forced to find. But that's what it's kind of telling me, is that your past has really set you up where you have this skill set that you've acquired through your hardships. And you probably don't even realize that you have all this, but it's telling you that you are extremely talented. You have a lot going for you. You have a skill set that would really be of service to the world. And I really do think that with the King of Swords, I really do think that you can communicate that on some kind of mass scale. And nowadays, with you being able, it could be TikTok, it could be, it could be Facebook, it could be in blog posts, it can be in video chats, video conferences. But it's really telling me that it's full speed ahead, and now the iron is hot. Strike while the iron is hot, because I really get the sense that now is a time that you could be very, very successful, and this would not only help others, but it would also continue you. It would help you continue on the path of development. And I do think it's also something that you would really enjoy, because it would be, I get the sense it would be healing to people. Like, you would help people heal. But I'm definitely getting a communications kind of outlet for it. You're an emotions person, but something with words or thoughts or, communications, media. Media is the mode in which you would transmit this, and now is the time that it's needed, though. I feel like presently is when you can really put this into motion. And then the future is, wow, guys, and this was the one that popped out and flew onto the floor. You got the Sun. So, you know what, guys? You know what that's telling me is and that's the second major arcana other than Temperance that you got, you know? So, wow, guys, whatever you're doing, you would be very, very happy. Your future is so, I'm hearing the expression, your future's so bright, you gotta wear shades. I mean, I would say whatever you're doing, if you definitely have a dream of, you know, of somehow being some kind of counselor or something that's a Queen of Cups kind of expression. And if you do that in a media way, you would be extremely successful. The other thing is that you would be extremely happy with it too. I really get the sense it would be that kind of dream job, you know, the one that you get excited to get up in the morning to go do. The other thing is that I feel like it would give you a lot of freedom. It'd give you a lot of freedom, and it would be all on your own merit too, because it's just an expression of things that you've learned, right? That you're sharing. And what really reinforced this is that you got Servant. And when you know, when I look at Servant, I really think be of service, you know. My grandmother and my grandfather used to always say that. There's a quote in the Bible. Well, there's two quotes in the Bible that my great-grandfather, the same person who made this table actually, used to say. He used to say, he who hath friends must shew himself friendly. And he used to always say, be of service. Be of service. So it's one of those things where it isn't so much that, and I don't get this from your personality. The Queen of Cups, she wants to help because she wants others to have it easier than she did. Right? If you went through some kind of experience that was extremely challenging and you got through it, you want to pass on those skills, that you want to be of help to others who are going through the same thing. And I really do think that because you went through it, and again, you wouldn't want anyone else who's going through their Nine of Wands, anyone else who's ready to give up, who would become beaten down by the same experiences that you survived. You'd rather share your experiences and have it help someone, and it would bring you joy, and it would allow you to care for others, and it would be of service. It would be you being of service to others, in addition to you expressing yourself and you know, just being yourself. Because the other thing is the Sun is like your sun sign. It's like living your purpose, right? It's unabashedly living your purpose, and that's what it's saying, is that if you did do this, you'd be very, you know, you'd be serving your purpose. But all right, so gosh, guys, so that's how the Eight of Pentacles manifests for you. That was a really good read. These always get real powerful. All right, so last but not least, we have the Anna K, and this is also a very great card. Again, I had a tough choice deciding, because the Vice Versa Tarot does also have a very similar image, but I really do love that you see both the artisan teaching the apprentice, you know, it's like the craftsman's apprentice. So let's go ahead and see, how does the Eight of Pentacles manifest in your life? Ooh. Okay, please clarify the Six of Cups. Is there a clarifier? Ooh. Got two sixes here. So present energy. Wow. Okay, future, please. Okay, let's clarify the future. All right, let's go ahead and get your Gypsy Oracle card. Ooh, it fell right in my lap. Okay, so let's go ahead and see. How does the Eight of Pentacles manifest in your life? All right, so in the past, the first card that came out was the Six of Cups. And the Six of Cups is, traditionally you see two children on the deck, but here you see a girl, smelling the flowers and staring out in the sky. The past is really full of fond memories for you. The Six of Cups is about looking back in the past with nostalgia, right? And this being in the past position, I really do think that you in the past, I really get the sense as if you feel like, especially with your Eight of Pentacles, I have you ever talked to somebody who, sometimes when you sit and talk to your grandparents and they tell you stories about how when they grew up that, the fun things they used to do or the places that they used to go. Or if you ask somebody, I remember one time I was in an environmental class, and the person giving the lecture had posed the question, what is your most favorite natural place? Like, what's your favorite outdoor place to go and why? And as we're all telling our stories, it's like there was so much nostalgia in it. It's like, okay, your favorite beach or your favorite forest or your favorite national park, your favorite lake, your favorite tree, your favorite botanical garden, and it's like as you talk to the person, they just get this beautiful dreamy look on their face. It's like the look on this girl's face. So they're in their mind, they're going back to that place in their mind and just telling you what they love about it. Why is it your favorite place? So what I kind of get is with your Eight of Pentacles, because this is artisanship, and especially with this, I really get the feeling that you had some kind of skill, or you have some kind of skill. You still have it, but I get the feeling as if you're that you learned this skill in the past, right? It was something that you perfected already, right? It's something that you did before. I almost kind of think of it as like when you talk about having a golden age of something, like I remember, with my previous employer, there was a team of us of about 12 employees, and we were all so cross-trained in what we knew how to do. And I always refer to it as the golden age, because it was like the pinnacle of us. It was like all of us being the best at something and us teaching others. And it's, you can almost think of it like like it really can apply to anything, any time or group that was just everybody was excellent at what they did, and they were all together as this kind of golden team, right? So the way I think about it is like if you talk to a retired actress, somebody who used to work in movies and they're retired now, and if you say, oh, what was it like working on that movie? And it was like, oh, it was great, all of everybody knew what they were doing, and I was cast as this person and they were cast as that. It's almost kind of like that. That's the kind of feeling that I'm getting. It's almost like you're looking back at some kind of skill that you had in the past that you had perfected, and it was artisan. It was something very unique that you were good at, and you just kind of romanticize about it. Not that it's not warranted, but you look back and say, oh gosh, that was the golden age. I knew how to do that, and maybe it was, you're just remembering back to a time when your skill was really applied and you were the best at it, right? Now, underneath it, you got the Six of Swords. And the Six of Swords is moving on. It's traveling, right? It's moving to a new place. It's moving to a new it's kind of going on to on the next adventure, right? So the vibe I'm definitely getting from this is that you ever become so good at something, and again, I'm guilty of this too. I have a few hobbies that I've done for years and years and years, and after a while you're like, is there anything else that I can learn from this, right? Not to say that you ever stop learning, right? You always learn, but when you think about it, if you've been a photographer for 50 years and you know how to use film, you know how to use digital, and you're really kind of an expert in your field, at some point you can kind of feel like, okay, is there anything else, is anything new to me anymore? Is there such a thing as being too much of an expert at something, right? So that's definitely, and it's funny. I should have thought of that when I was reading the first deck, because they got the Emperor, which is kind of like being the top of the food chain at something. But the present energy, and underneath your 8, you got the Queen of Pentacles. And wow, guys, look at this. And honestly, this queen looks a lot like the Empress. And the Empress is a little bit of a Taurus energy. But, and underneath the queen, you got the 8 of Cups. You got the 8 of Cups. And so, so this combination really speaks to me of, with the queen being the queen, right? She's the emotional kind of nurturing of the earth element too, of pentacles. That really tells me that I really do get a sense that you perfected something, right? I think in the past you became very, you became overtly skilled at something. There was some area of expertise that you had, and you look back on it with a lot of pride. You look back at it with a lot of nostalgia. It's almost as if you look back at it and say, oh gosh, remember when that hobby was so exciting, right? I remember mentioning in the intro, when you start a hobby for the first time and you realize how much you like it, either that or if that hobby branches off into some other specialization, like something new, or maybe you innovated in some way that it becomes something new, that it becomes so exciting, right? And it's almost like you're looking back at a time when what you did was new and different and exciting, and you were learning it, right? It's like back when you were learning it, that's part of the endorphins of feeling alive, right? Is when you're becoming good at something. But fast forward and you're no longer a girl anymore, you're a queen, right? And you're a queen of pentacles, meaning that I really do think that presently this skill or whatever it is that you're good at, you've really kind of perfected, right? Maybe you are a professor in some kind of field where you know a lot about it, right? The other thing is with all of these, this harvest around her, I do think that whatever you're good at really did yield. Maybe you did make it your profession or made it your career. But the other thing is that part of this that I get is that part of that nostalgia is that when you did learn this skill or this hobby, I really do think that you're some kind of specialist in some kind of field, like this is some kind of artisan type of thing. That at the time that you were learning it, you really felt a sense of motion with it. Like, you ever get the thrill, like you're going places? Like maybe you were in a really tough place in your life, and then you made changes, and as you were making these changes, you learned a new skill, and you became you developed that skill, and it became your career, which became your livelihood. But I do think that, again, I think that you it's almost like you look back fondly at that time. You look back fondly at the time of change that really that really sprouted this development, gave you this ability to learn this skill. And this skill really, and again, I really get a sense like it's a career. Like it started off as something small, but it was like this golden age of you learning how to do this. And then over time, you learned how to do it so well that you could even teach other people, right? The other thing is that I really get the sense that you've probably nurtured other people, like you might have helped people in the same career path. With it being Pentacles, it could very well be a financial kind of career. Maybe you taught people banking or some other kind of profession, but it's been very lucrative for you. It's been a defining skill for you. But being the queen, that's the only other card after the queen is the king, and then that's the end of the suit, right? So underneath the Queen of Pentacles, the Eight of Cups is really about walking away from something that you've emotionally invested in. And I know this imagery is a little bit more of a relationship sense, but here I really get a vibe of I do get a vibe of you feeling like you've learned everything that there is to know about this skill. Again, you're the Queen of Pentacles. You really do. You kind of, there's nothing else that you can learn. And it isn't to say that you aren't interested in this hobby anymore, but I really do get the feeling like you feel like you've invested all that you could into it. At this time, it's really not showing you anything new or not allowing you to grow. And so I do think that at this time you're deciding to walk away from it. And again, the Eight of Cups doesn't mean that you're walking away forever. It just means that, this skill has been good to you. You've learned all that you could from it. In the past, when you first started doing it, it was very exciting. It was life-changing for you. I do also think that it helped move you away from turbulent times. It was a golden age in your life. It was one that you'll always remember. I think it gave you skills and resources. I think it really did also increase your income. And it did give you the ability to teach other people your same, to pass on your skills. But at this point, also what I kind of get from that too is you could possibly be on the brink of retirement. You do kind of see that sometimes where, you spent your whole life doing one type of thing or one type of career, and you could be like a professor in your field with it too. It could be, something that you know how to do very well, but after a while, sometimes it can make you feel a little pigeonholed. I'm very far away from a retirement age, but I like to daydream about the day, someday when you do retire, because then it's kind of like having a whole new life. It's kind of like being a 16-year-old again when saying, where do I want to have a part-time job, right? It kind of lets you start your career all over again, and it would give you a lot of freedom. But here I am really kind of getting a sense that this is more defining you, like something that you've learned has really kind of, I think it's put you into a channel of specialization that you can't really get out of easily. And I think that you would like to learn something new. I think that you want to try something that's different. Now, in the future, you got the Ten of Cups. And the Ten of Cups is a beautiful card in this deck. You see someone who's kind of standing inside of a circle of 10. And the Ten of Cups is that money, is that happiness money can't buy, right? That prosperity, that sense of peace. And underneath it, you've got the Two of Rods, the Two of Wands. And what I'm really seeing here is that I am getting almost kind of like a retirement vibe. Either that, or I'm getting the sense that I'm getting a sense of career change here. Almost like you want to change tracks. And I just really think that, again, in the past, I think you are presently synonymous with what you do. Like whatever skill you have, you are known for, right? But, you don't want this one thing to define you for your whole life, right? So whether you're retiring or whether you're just saying, okay, yeah, I've been the Queen of Pentacles. I know how to do this. I could teach people how to do this. I have taught people how to do this, but it's, do I want to do something different? Is this the only thing that I want to do for the rest of my life? And I think you are going to make the decision to, put on your cloak and kind of say, maybe I do want to walk away from this because I want to try something different. Now, the future, with it being the Ten of Cups and the Two of Rods, what I love about this Two of Rods is that you see how it looks like you're at a crossroads, but you see how, she looks all peaceful and meditative. I think you will be deciding to try something different, because the other thing about the Two of Rods is about having one rod that you've already obtained, right? That's already, if you look at the traditional Rider-Waite, the rod is bolted to the wall, right? It's already, that was your first idea. You already did that, right? Been there, done that. And then the other rod is the one that's you're holding in your hand and looking out over the balcony, right? And here you're at a crossroads. But you, above the crossroads, you have the Ten of Cups, and she just looks so peaceful, right? She looks meditative. I think that you are excited in the future. You're excited. I think of course, it's a little scary because it's the unknown, right? You're walking away from something that's been very steady, something that you know so well. But I do think that you're excited at the prospect of doing something different. Yes, it is going to feel like a crossroads. It's going to feel like, okay, which way do I want to go? But I think it's going to make you really happy to have that choice, to have that path. And I think you're excited at the prospect of learning something different. Like you do. The other thing that I'm kind of getting is that I really get the sense that you might have kind of a calling to go. Because the other thing with the Two of Wands is that, there's a world in their hand in the traditional Rider-Waite. So, and with the Circle of Cups, I think you're almost getting kind of like a gut instinct, an intuitive kind of, center of chest feeling. This is feeling with all the gold. It does seem very solar plexus, and with the sun in the background, I think solar. I do get the feeling that you know in your heart of hearts that it's the path that you want. You want to be you want to be on this path, right? You want to be looking for something new. And I think it's going to give you a lot of happiness. It's going to feel like the right choice in the future. Now, the two cards that you got, and this is going to seem a little bit different, but bear with me. You got your Gypsy cards. You got Prison, and here you got Sighs, which you see this woman looking out in the distance, and she looks like she's sighing, right? Like she's like, And I told the other pile, just like a Kipper deck, the Gypsy cards are really meant to be read side by side, like the two cards in the way that they fall. So it almost looks like the lady is staring at the person in prison and she's letting out a sigh, like a pained sigh, right? And in this deck, you can kind of see a ship sailing in the distance. I think really the feeling that I'm getting is, I'm getting more feeling like, what you were doing was, it was fulfilling. You know how to do it well. But I do think that it felt constricting to you. Like it did. It felt a little bit like a prison, but not in a bad sense. Prison is just really about meaning that you've kind of committed yourself, right? You've committed yourself to something. And and anytime you start to feel like something is not, the other thing that I get from this energy is that in the past, the reason that this scale felt so exciting is because it gave you a sense of movement, right? It gave you a sense of freedom. And I think presently what it is that, teaching others and knowing how to do something well, I think you do enjoy that. I think you like the practicality of it too. Whatever it is, you like the detail. You really do. That's the other thing, is that the Queen of Pentacles is normally a very Virgo or Taurus energy, and being detail oriented is very important to you. You like the detail of it. But the other thing is that, the problem is, for as practical as that is, you do kind of have to ask yourself, you know, it's something I know how to do. It's something I like to do, but is it something that do I still love to do this? Does this get me animated, right? Is it something that just pays the bills and that, because sometimes you don't want to stay someplace just because you know how to do it, right? That's not always living. You can know how to do something well. And again, I'm just getting the sense with the cups here and the six of cups and then going into the eight, you know and then your future is the 10 of cups. The other thing is it's kind of doing this. It's like it's up here and then it's down here and then it's up again, and it's in a progression. I really do think that you do have to ski. I think it's important for you to stay moving. That's what I keep hearing. Stay moving. Don't get chained down to something is what I'm seeing. Because you see this guy, he's got a chain on his foot, right? Just because you know how to do something doesn't mean that you have to, you don't have to, make it your ball and chain, right? And I do think being on the move does make you feel, being on the move, this is such an interesting energy because most of the time, Pentacle or Earth energy people really do like predictability. They like stability. But sometimes stability can become stagnancy, right? It can become stagnant. So, being on the road again might make you might feel a little unnerving at first, but it's almost like in your heart of hearts that it's going to bring you back to that feeling of nostalgia. It's going to give you that clean slate again. And so the only other thing that I get from this is with the size, when you look at the size, I do think that it will be a little bit bittersweet because, again, anytime, think about it. Have you ever had a job that you really did love to do, but you know that you had to go on to the next thing? Maybe you even had a promotion like that, right? You were in one position and you know how to do that position and, upwards and downwards, backwards and forwards. You even knew how to train other people for it, but it was your time to step up and do the new thing. So, sometimes that is, maybe it could mean moving away to another state to do something, new. It is going to be bittersweet. You are going to, the Eight of Cups. The other thing is, you could be that woman who is afraid to look back because, wow, I'm walking away from this, this solid, job. And it is going to make you kind of feel like, pain sigh. Let me watch as that, as that ship sails away. But I do think that I think the freedom to do something different is very important as well. And I think that. And it's gonna make you feel free. It's gonna, it might make you feel a little bit like you're giving up something, tried and true. But by giving it up, you are following your path. And I think your future is the 10 of Cups. And that's a really, really bright outcome. So guys, so that was your read. Now, as always, the how-tos, how to tarots go a little bit longer than an average read, but I hope you enjoyed and I hope you got something out of this. I do also do regular weekly energy card readings every Saturday, and then I do special pick-a-piles. I am posting a very special theme pick-a-pile this Friday. I hope you can join me for that. It's going to be a real short one, but it's a special theme day, so that'll be an extra one, and then the weekly energy on Saturday. But I hope you have a good week, and I thank you for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.